all. This is Not So Giant Women. Ivy and Daria are back with the other half of the mid-season finale. This time.
Yes. Our intrepid viewer was left on the edge of her seat last time.
Yes. So now it's time for Ocean Gem. we just watched a gem walk into the ocean.
So yeah, it might not be too hard to nut out this title unless they're going to swerve on us. But
yeah, I mean,
this gem that appears to have ocean powers might be it does what it says in the tin title.
I mean, what are the chances? We're probably just done with her forever, right? Like, we're done with Lapis Lazuli.
That's what last we'll see of her. This week, Stephen will find a new kind of sandwich.
Yeah. And he'll go out on the ocean in a boat and eat it. And I'll make the sandwich. And that's the plot. It's a great finale. Mid-season finale. Let's just watch it.
Here we go.
Here we go. Gems will always save the day. And if you think...
So, Lapis made it off planet.
What does this mean for us?
We wait and see.
See you, Lapis. Wherever you are.
Oh, well, just when I think I've got a handle on how things work.
Ha ha ha. Well, nope, here comes another Steven Universe episode to say, you're wrong.
Okay, let's see if I can cover this for the people at home.
Yeah. Summary time.
Okay, we pick up shortly after Mirror Gem ended. The gems remind Stephen that he is grounded. Amethyst thinks this means literally burying him into the ground. No one actually tells her what it does mean, so you might have to keep an eye on her for that before she buries any innocent children. While the other gems are trying to explain to Stephen the severity of the situation with Lapis, Greg bursts in to tell them that they should come see this. This being that the entire ocean has gone, which, well, is obviously a bad thing, and, well, because it's the ocean, really. Mayor Dewey is irate, and, of course, being Mayor Dewey, all he can imagine is what this is going to do to town commerce rather than the entire planet's ecosystem, saying no one will want to come to Desert City. Stephen realizes he is the one who let Lapis out. He is the one who has to fix things. And this move of responsibility gets him ungrounded, thankfully, because he probably couldn't do it from the living room. And Greg, Connie, Lion, and the gems all announced they're going to come with him. And it's time for a road trip using Greg's van and Lion as transport out into the desert that was the ocean. And the entire time they're doing this, I'm just worrying that the ocean's coming back and that they get swept away, because I remember a story about 5 brothers where someone drowned like that because the ocean went away and then it came back. That's not this story, though. And they eventually find a huge tower made of the ocean, which in short order we discover Lapis has formed. They appeal to Lapis' better nature, but to no avail, as she creates water-form duplicates of the gems, including Stephen, to battle them. Our heroes rapidly discover that fighting someone with water powers on a planet which is 2/3 water is not putting one at the best advantage. There is quite a well-done battle sequence as people take on their own duplicates, except for Lion, who doesn't get a duplicate. He just gets to fight the duplicate of Stephen. But as soon as you strike a duplicate, it just reforms. And in fact, when Pearl, fighting herself as she's done before, manages to cut her own duplicate in 2, it turns into 2 pearls. And Pearl has to bring out 2 spears. Apparently she can do that to keep fighting them. This goes on for a while, breaking both Greg and his van, till Stephen calls out to Lapis that they don't want to fight, and he really means it, emphasizes enough that when she flings a water bomb at him and he maintains his stance of not fighting, his shield deploys, and that disperses the water bomb, but also undoes all of the constructs that everyone's fighting. Stephen goes to the tower and tells Lapis he's coming up to see her, which he does, asking her not to drown him on the way, and popping up through the water tower to right up to cloud-like level, a bit Jack and the Beanstalk style. Lapis starts to more of her problem, that the gems we know, the crystal gems we know, only care about the Earth. Stephen obviously doesn't immediately understand why this is a bad thing, as, well, he only kind of knows the Earth, really. And Lapis said she just wants to go home. Stephen says that's part of why he's here. The ocean is part of his home, and thus it's important. Lapis says that she would go home were her gem not cracked, and Stephen reveals his healing power, which Lapis is actually quite receptive to. He warns her that it's a bit gross as he licks his own hand and rubs it on her gem, which is on her back. It glows and reforms, and she forms water wings to jump up into space. The tower then starts to turn back into ocean as everyone panics and realizes that they're standing basically at the ocean's floor and the ocean's about to be dropped back on them. Lion and Connie rescue Stephen from plummeting to his doom from the dissolving tower. The ocean comes back into where it should be. Mayor Dewey has been trying to refill it with a garden hose all this time, poor boy.
And his tears.
But our heroes resurface with a protective bubble. So another good job, Stephen, at the protective thing. And onto land where basically the rest of Greg's van falls apart. And Pearl asks him what's that thing he says about pork chops and hot dogs. The townfolk are now grateful to Stephen for having saved them, while the three gems reflect that Lapis is now off planet and what might it mean for them, and they'll just have to wait and find out. And Stephen bids farewell to Lapis wherever she may be. So
it's a whammy.
Yeah. Oh, one thing which I glossed over because they just shoved it in there in the road trip is that Amethyst informs us that all these gem creatures, all the monsters, all the gem animals we've been fighting for the past 26 episodes are in fact gem people like themselves and Lapis who have become corrupted somehow. Pearl says it's the best they can do to contain them, presumably because they keep destroying things, and to try to find a way to help them. Which also means a throwaway remark about bubbling the mirror last week makes a whole lot more sense now, because that's what we tend to do to gem animals or gem corruptions or gem creatures, gems. We bubble them. So, yeah, a lot dropped on us this week. Mm-hmm. There appears to be a home planet or gem federation or something that Lapis can apparently fly to on water wings, so it might take a while to get there. But this certainly suggests that there are other gem beings, and the three at the end, their conversation suggests that it might not be good for them if other gem beings find out about what they've been doing on Earth.
Mm-hmm. There will be consequences, it seems.
Yes, certainly Lapis seems to regard Earth as an also-ran at best when she dismisses the other three's concerns for the Earth, even though it is a planet covered with living beings and people and things. Mm-hmm. So she's at least aware of the Earth and holds some place of non-value to her at least. So that opens up all kinds of questions as to our gem's role in the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. The story just got really a lot bigger.
Yeah, they expanded out the world, and yeah, that all the gem creatures are in fact gem people. That's kind of blown a lot of my thinking away.
Right, and what have they been doing on Earth?
Yeah, so corrupting a gem person, whatever that means, somehow turns them into an animal monster thing, or feral and destructive, with I suppose a couple of minor exceptions like debubbled baby centipedals, even though that was still pretty feral. And a lot of them are on Earth for some reason, which more than the fact that the gems we knew came here suggests Earth holds some kind of position in the larger gem picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got a basement full of them, don't they?
Yeah, so I don't know if that means our three came here because that's where the corruptions ended up, or if there's some reason why gems in general have been ending up on Earth. And Lapis apparently is likely to have a few words with someone back at Gem Sphere or something, because it definitely sounds like there's someone there, because they're talking about consequences. They're not just going, oh, well, Lapis is wasting her time.
Right. She made it off planet, is how Garnet put it.
Yeah. They obviously preferred her contained, or yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there was more words they would have rather had with her, but they seem for the moment to be, at least, I don't know, slightly relieved that the immediate danger of unbalancing the Earth by taking its ocean is done with.
Yes. See, in this episode and the previous one are a big reason why I don't like when people say the first half of the first season is full of filler, because I feel like so much paid off right here. You can't just jump in and watch Mirror Gem and Ocean Gem and feel like you just saw a bunch of puzzle pieces come together, you know? It just really, even though you don't have a lot of information every time you see some kind of gem monster get caught and put in the basement, you know, it feels like, wow, they've been doing this for a long time. We've been seeing different ways this can manifest, and now we found out context for that. And I don't know, it wouldn't have been powerful at all to just hear that in the first episode you see. So I get frustrated when people say, oh no, just start with episode 25.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't have made any sense to learn that the gem animals are gem corruptions if you hadn't had all that experience with gem animals.
Right. And there's so many callbacks in this episode too. This one specifically, like, I mean, the pork chops and hot dogs thing, first of all, but that's just cute. You know, everything, just him going on this trip, and he's got his cheeseburger backpack, and you're like, there's that thing again. And Amethyst fighting with her purple puma form. Like,
I did love that.
She's changing into, you know, showing off her shape-shifting, you know, and the corrupted gem thing where she's bringing up, Pearl is narrating and Amethyst is saying they used to be like us. And Stephen is kind of flashing through all these gems that they've fought, and we recognize all of these different creatures. We've seen them before. Like, that's all very, it would just go over your head, you know, and then of course, all the powers that he used, his 3 powers, the 3 big ones. The shield finally came back out again after seeing it in episode 1 and not since. And we saw the bubble that he used to protect everybody from the falling water, and then bring the van back, and the healing, of course, which he just got. So it felt like it's really been moving forward to this point, even though it kind of didn't feel like it had that much cohesive momentum before this. And now we just saw it all kind of splash together. I really love these episodes.
Yeah, and it shows a new light on some previous episodes. Like the aforementioned Little Centripetal. That episode means a lot more now when you're realizing that Garnet's let's even try to tame it thing is also laced with maybe he could turn it back into a people.
Right. Or that Stephen's mom had been trying to heal them too.
Yeah, that she's not just Gem St. Francis of Assisi. There's more to it than that she and by extension her son may eventually discover how to unlock, decorrupt, whatever the word would be.
And Stephen seems to think that's a worthy goal, because he's like, I promise I'll heal you.
Yeah, and there's something about Stephen that he said that when he thought that the centripetal was quote unquote just an animal too, he didn't know it was potentially a person. I liked that we were set up for a grandiose narration, and Amethyst just belted in with saying it, though. That was both a time saver and a nice way to sort of catch us out.
I know, Amethyst. She's not subtle, is she? Used to be just like us, right, Pearl? Yeah, she doesn't explain how this happened at all, but now we know at least what happened to them.
Yeah, well, we do know gem history hasn't always been a happy one, so even what little we've heard so far could have any number of instances that might have caused some kind of mass corruption, or if being corruptible is just a risk of being if you're a gem, and it's something you might run across if the wrong thing happens to you, suggesting rather scarily that this could happen to any of our extant gems should the wrong thing befall them.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know it's not if they get their gem cracked, because then they just get noodle arms and backward speech.
Yeah, I did notice that Lapis got her pupils back when her gem was fixed all the way. So there we go. I did at least learn something about gem biology, that you, with a little amount of damage, you can get by, but you're somewhat inhibited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she couldn't pull out her wings, which, I don't know. I mean, I thought it was visually very striking. It was beautiful, and having her turn around and she has eyeballs again, it's really visually very sort of an emotional moment. But at the same time, I'm thinking she could do all of the stuff that she did with a cracked gem. And we already saw Amethyst she was a mess. She was like, I got a googly eye and I'm having fun and you can't understand me. And Lapis is cracked and she's competently fighting multiple other competent gems with water clones. Like, wow. I guess, I don't know. Clearly it does not affect them in the same ways necessarily. Maybe it's like a computer where if your hard drive gets damaged, it could be a vital part, or it could just be the part that makes a D look like an S.
Well, even with humans, I mean, like, the same kind of cut on, say, an arm or a leg might be just quite painful, but if that cut was through like your heart or something, you'd be
right.
Well, if not dead, then you're quite risk of becoming so.
Right. Or even if you took it to like the gem equivalent in a human would be maybe our brain, is that you could get brain damage in one specific place and you might still be able to do everything that you did before, but you can't say the word yellow.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Maybe there's some like gem neuroplasticity.
Yeah,
although I did notice a difference was that Amethyst crack was steadily getting worse, whereas Lapis seemed to be staying as it was. Right.
It didn't seem like she was worried about it getting worse.
So it could be there's just different kinds of cracks.
And she's a different kind of gemstone.
Yeah. So again, I don't know if there's some real world application of that, but still don't know how crystal gem people relate to earth gems, if indeed at all.
Yeah.
If these are just sort of translations of their names so we can understand that I'm made of blue rock, so my name is the name of a blue rock.
Yeah.
But there's obviously some kind of translation thing going on, unless gems all just happen to speak English.
Well, maybe we speak Gemlish.
Oh, yeah. Maybe to them we nicked it.
I've heard some people say that Garnet doesn't have a British accent. Britain has a Garnet accent. Maybe she just lived there for a while. Yeah,
we've had a bit of that on Star Trek lately because we've had more actors keeping their original accents. So suddenly we've got Irish and Australian Romulans.
All right. Guess it's not any weirder than whatever accent they had before.
Yeah. I gotta say, makes as much sense than being American all these years. But yeah, obviously, unless someone brings up a hand wave later, there's something going on that just enables everyone to understand each other, because while you could say that the main three learnt English the old-fashioned way, Lapis has been in a mirror all this time.
Yeah. And like, I just listened to this recording of a poem, an old poem this morning that was supposed to be how these words sounded just 500 years ago. And it was English, but it didn't sound like English. It barely made sense and sometimes didn't make sense to me. And I'm like, wow, if I just traveled 500 years in the past, people who were speaking the language that I speak would be unintelligible to me. And so it would be really impossible for somebody who was exposed to English maybe a really long time ago to just come out speaking understandable, perfect English.
But it's also fair from a TV point of view, because we don't need to see everyone's sitting down with Berlitz books every week.
Yeah. Let's just assume that there's a universal translator going on.
So I suppose it could have been interesting if part of the problem was a gem emerging after however long and not being able to understand people or be understood. But I suppose you can only go so far with that in the immediate setting, because obviously if there is a gem language, the gems would speak it and be able to address the matter.
Mm-hmm. If Lapis would talk to them, she
Well,
might
yeah,
just be like,
there's
nope,
that
I'm
too.
just going to punch you in the face. That was a really impressive fight, like you were saying. On the one hand, I feel like my first question would be, Lapis, why didn't you just make a gigantic wall of water and hold them down? Why would you take the special effort to create a clone to mimic their movements and fight them individually? That has to take a lot of thought, unless it was on autopilot somehow, and it didn't seem like it necessarily would be. But on the other hand, it's kind of rule of cool. It's like, that was really fun to watch.
Yeah, and she might want to sort of stretch her virtual legs with her water powers after being locked up for so long.
Could be. Possibly just terrify them.
Yeah. I don't know if it's significant that she only copied the gem-based people. She'd make a copy of Lion, Connie, or Greg, or the van.
Right. She just copied who she thought she was fighting. And then Steven didn't fight his clone until it started coming for him. And that was interesting too, because when he pulled out his shield, which I was just like clapping, I was so excited that he finally pulled that out again. It was so triumphant, and he did it in a battle situation, and it was great. But then it sort of made this resonance where everything kind of shook apart. And that was really cool. I didn't know if that was just an inherent property of his shield, or if that's like a new power or what.
It's looking like Steve, to activate his power, at least at this point, Stephen sort of needs to be driven by an earnest desire for protection.
Certainly in this situation he was. The first time we just saw he was happy about Cookie Cat.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that was so long. He was so much younger, but then he was only half a season younger. So
Yeah. Not really sure how the time is passing exactly, but it's clearly summertime right now because we're having summer vacation. So it's not really said what it was before that.
Yeah, we haven't really had any indications of how long has passed, other than the significant weeks of time while Pearl was in her Pearl.
Mm-hmm. And occasionally we'll see Steven in warmer clothes, but it's usually because they're going to go fight an ice monster or something.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell.
Beach City seems to often enjoy beachfront weather.
So one thing I thought also was really interesting about toward the end of this episode is Steven's negotiating skills were actually really good, even though he really put himself in danger to do that. But he knew that he had this bond with Lapis, that she would probably listen to him if she'd listen to anyone. And so he just decided, we're going to stop the fighting, and if I could just talk to her, then I can reason with her. And he still doesn't really understand anything afterwards, but he gets her to reach her goal, which is to go home. So I think it was cool to see him kind of in this important role. Like, the others didn't think, let's go reason with her. That's what he thought, though. So I like seeing him sort of emerging as a type of leader there.
Yeah, the others seem to, I mean, they sort of flagged it, but they seem to think that reasoning with Lapis would be something of a lost cause, and
yeah, you're right.
Just kind of charged in after her.
Right. That they already know what the dynamic is, and there's nothing to do but fight.
And I don't know if they had. I don't know if they were thinking, well, maybe if we fight and rebubble her, that'll stop her going back to Gemsphere and telling on us or whatever's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Didn't really seem like anyone, well, certainly no one voiced the concern that, like, we can't let her get off the planet. But then, I mean, Garnet's always pretty calm, but by the end of the episodes, she's saying pretty calmly, so Lapis made it off planet. And Pearl says, what does this mean for us? So yeah, they're not happy about it, but they're also not acting like it's a crisis. So it'll be interesting kind of going forward to see how they might change their behavior, if they continue to, if anything has changed in the way that they will behave and how they'll handle anything as we go forward.
Yeah, if they need someone on sort of Lapis watch for any sign of her having done anything or coming back or anything, or if it's just such a significant unknown that they can't do anything until and if it happens.
Lapis seemed to have a personal reason to want to go home. She just said she wanted to go home, and she didn't say anything about any missions that she had or reporting to anyone or anything. It seemed like she just wanted to not be on Earth anymore. So she didn't give us any clues.
Yeah, so, I mean, she might just go home and be done with it, but I guess the important thing to our gems is that they don't know that at all.
Yep. It's a big question mark.
Like if she's going to run into, I don't know, Chrysopress at the gem supermarket and ask, where have you been all these years? Oh, well.
That's awesome. One other big thing I want to talk about for this episode is that it really felt like a mid-season finale, partly because there was this road trip with everybody. It had Greg and it had Connie and Lion, so kind of this almost B team. It had everybody, almost like they were honorary crystal gems, and they weren't just along for the ride either. They all did something, so that was cool.
Yeah, I liked everyone rallying around and found out the gems don't share Rose's musical tastes.
Garnet rolling out of that van to express that she did not like the music. She just throws herself out of the van with no comment at all. Was one of the funniest things I have ever seen in my life.
That's a harsh critic you got there, Greg.
Right? And then she just rides the rest of the way, sitting on top of the van rather than deal with that. Tell us how you really feel, Garnet. Just, oh my God. It's so, I mean, as you can imagine, tons of people have made animated GIFs of that, and it's wonderful to use that as a reaction. Just somebody says something and you just post that and you don't have to say anything else.
I'm out.
I'm abandoning this right now. Leap out of it. And she just rolls like a log. It cracked me up so much.
And Pearl can drive. I don't know if we knew that.
Yes. We've seen her play the driving video game, but I think this is the first time we saw her driving the actual van.
Maybe she liked the game so much she went and learned.
Wonder if she has an actual license. Pearl doesn't seem like the kind of person who would drive without a license. That's against the law. Point. But, she's probably also doesn't have a social security number or, a legal identity. So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I don't know, Pearl. What are you doing?
Can the Beach City DMV, can their computers cope with what her birth date would be?
No. Y2K. Sometime in BC. Yeah, I think that it might cause an error.
And Lion went to the right place. He goes where he needs to go. He doesn't always go where he's asked to go, but this time he was where he needed to be.
Yeah, I liked Lion's efforts to destroy the water Steven. And it was really scary that moment when Lapis held Steven and Connie by their heads inside of water and they were possibly drowning. That was actually really scary to me. I don't like presentations of anyone unable to breathe.
Same.
Media, so that freaked me out. I'm glad it was brief. Thank you, Greg Universe, for driving into that water clone and upsetting it. That was very brave of him.
Yeah.
And then he sticks his head out the window. Is this a normal magical mission for you?
Because if so, I'm not comfortable about.
Yeah, and then he gets punched into the air, and he got injured. There was real consequences, real human consequences this time.
Yeah, his leg may indeed be broken.
Yeah, and Pearl did driving on the way back, so he's probably still as damaged as his van. And Connie's still wearing her glasses with no lenses.
Connie's masses of hair, they had it all flowing around her in the water bubble rather than just hanging down or stuck to her head as it might have been otherwise. So it was a good touch they did that.
Mm-hmm. Some realism to it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of animators don't do so well with water effects, and by their own admission, so I don't feel too bad saying that about, but I think they did pretty well with all the watering going on here.
Yeah. Except you have to overlook the fact that Connie and Steven thought it would be smart to attack a water-powered gem with water guns.
Yeah, I wondered if that was going to just make the water explode out of Steven's water pistol, but...
It was ineffective, let's just say that. Oh, Steven, take a water gun to this fight. My goodness.
Yeah, don't bring a water gun to a water people fight.
one water gem, and she's got you versus you.
But they're fighting Lapis on her home turf. She's got, well, as far as we can tell, literally all the water in the world at her disposal. Mm-hmm. So there's almost no chance they're going to actually fight her to a standstill, let alone a victory.
Yeah, it was not, I'm sure, I know it wasn't thought through as to where they were going to fight her. They just had to go find her. But, then she attacked them. So I guess they were just reacting. Nobody really stood back and said, this is a bad idea. I mean, I guess except Stephen. He said, I don't want to fight. That's nature, and it's a strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the flip side of this is Lapis is presumably not nearly so powerful if she's in a dry environment.
If she doesn't have any water to do anything with, then she's probably screwed.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of gem capability, she's very much all her combat eggs seem to be in that particular basket.
So probably if you wanted to make her less dangerous, you'd have to just put her in a box where there's no moisture.
Yeah.
It's like where she's from is that the norm. So
the three we've seen, we haven't seen any sort of particular environmental advantage, or at least not one so sharp as this.
Yeah, I think the closest that I can think of is that, on a very small scale, Pearl made some little sand people during Giant Woman to demonstrate fusion, but it seemed very small and controlled. So I don't know. She never uses that to battle or anything. I don't know if it was like a cartoon thing where she could have demonstrated that with her holograms if she wanted to, but she did it with sand for some reason. And then also Garnet can make electricity. She restarted that video game when Steven unplugged it, and she just brought some electricity out of her hands. I wonder if she could have put that in the water and caused some problems for Lapis, but she didn't.
Yeah, well, I could easily see that could cause just as much problem for everyone else given electricity and water, so I'll forgive her not trying that.
Yeah, she was just busy punching water. When the fight ended, I noticed that Pearl and Garnet were still fighting their doubles, but Amethyst had been conquered. Her cologne was sitting on her. Or Amethyst.
Garnet going fist to fist with her other half was a pretty cool moment too.
Oh, yeah. I've heard some people say that it's a reference to, like, the fighting looked a lot like a famous anime battle, but it was one I had not seen.
Same. It didn't immediately strike me as being anything in particular.
Mm-hmm. So, anime references. You're never surprised when you see them, even if you don't get them. When I was saying before that there's so many callbacks in this, I was also thinking about Connie. Connie helped at the end when she and Lion went to rescue Stephen from falling, right? I really liked that they had kind of already established, I think it was in Lion 2, the movie, right? That Connie and Lion knew each other, like that they had a thing where they recognized each other and he trusted her enough to be on his back and stuff. So they just looked at each other and went in to rescue falling Stephen.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a cute rapport going.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, on the other hand, seemed a bit surprised.
Just a little. Oh my goodness, just Lapis just dropping that tower and not really worrying about what's going to happen to anybody. She's just like, okay, bye.
Like I diverted to in a synopsis, there was a folk tale I remember from school where someone had the ability to suck up the entire ocean into their cheeks. And
yeah.
And he did this so a boy could explore what the ocean without the ocean in it, and he couldn't hold it any longer, and he drowned the boy.
Right. I have read that book. There's a little book, right?
Yeah, there's a book, and the version we heard, at least, they called it The Five Chinese Brothers. Because each of the brothers, who all looked identical, had one particular power, and one of them could suck up the entire ocean.
That's bizarre. I mean, all things considered, it definitely would have had more environmental impact than it did if the ocean just went miles and miles away into a huge tower and then came back down. I mean, there would be tsunamis, there would be just devastation.
Well, yeah, I mean, our heroes were lucky that, they're with someone who can make protective bubbles. So also nice work having seeded the bubble in a few previous episodes.
Yes.
But, surely...
It's showing it's watertight.
Exactly. But surely surely elsewhere in the world, there were people just wandering into this non-ocean, wondering what's going on, who then just got swept aside.
Right.
I mean, Mayor Dewey was lucky he wasn't out too deep.
Yeah, we saw everything just kind of slosh back into place, and it didn't go farther and like stabilize or anything. It just kind of went back into place. And when Connie was looking at it, when it was in a tower, she saw a bunch of fish at the bottom. It's like, well, I don't know if the pressure on those fish would be. Anyway, I'm making too much analysis of cartoon things that can't happen anyway.
Yeah. Well, if you need a hand wave, you could say that Lapis' powers are enough to keep all these things in check. And as far as bleaching the water, she was moved by Stephen saying this is part of my home, so she might have thought, okay, probably missing the point if I just let it all go at once and destroy the rest of his home.
This is true. Started to come down in almost like bricks coming apart. It was neat. It was very visually cool.
Yeah. And I was reminded of when Lion previously had jumped up and gone brick to bricks rescuing Stephen.
Yeah, in episode 10 when we first met him.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things to pay off. So while I couldn't put my hand on my heart and say there was no episode from the previous 25 that could be skipped without effect, I think to really get the best out of this episode, you need to have seen what has gone before and what all these things mean.
Mm-hmm. I think so. And there are still episodes that I feel like if they didn't all get put together into this episode, they're still going to be important later. I mean, sure, you could say, let's cut an episode where Lars is being a jerk or Onion is making a bunch of plastic men, but you don't know how important that's going to be.
Well, yeah, all we know is it hasn't been important so far. We don't know if a duplicator will come back in a later episode, or if, well, we seem to get actually just from last week a bit of the lingering development from Lars and Sadie, that she was so very unimpressed with him going on about beach babes in front of her.
Oh, yeah. I like that she shoved him into the water once it was back.
Yeah.
She's like, you know what? Stop showing off with how you're going to go court women while I'm right here. So they're having a moment. It really seems like some stuff is going on where Stephen isn't seeing it, and these two are they're having their moment. But they got to work together.
Everything built towards this. Well, not sure if any cat fingers did, but everything else built towards this.
We met Mayor Dewey in Cat Fingers.
Actually, yes, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, he's been a few other times, but
yeah.
No, that was the first time he showed up, isn't it?
But no, and in fact, the cat fingers would have been actually very counterproductive this episode, given what the cat fingers think of water.
Oh, wow. So let's see. I want to talk about the conversation that they had when they were on top of the tower, which was pretty revealing, I guess. I mean, it wasn't too long, but, you know, like you said, they talked about the importance of home. And she said, I'm only using the ocean because my gem is cracked. And she seemed very surprised that he had healing powers.
Yeah, like surprised and receptive. So
yes.
But also in this, she hadn't even thought that he might have healing powers and that there might be healing available, which would just solve this whole problem. Because once she was healed, she was like, oh, fine, I'll stop trying to kill you. See ya.
Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't, I mean, if she gets to kill some crystal gems, all right, cool. But that wasn't her mission. She wanted to go home. That was the thing, really. And I mentioned that he had some negotiation skills coming out this time, but I like that he seems to have really established an ally with her, even though she sort of acted like an antagonist in this episode. So it seems like he is well placed now to get some mercy from her if she has something bad coming.
And he seems very much tending towards trying to find peaceful solutions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Goes with all of his protective powers, doesn't it?
And I mean, that's pretty much what his previous encounter with the centripetal was him trying to make nice of it, everything. Yes. It wasn't him trying to, get close enough to Lapis and then use his shield to Captain America her or anything.
Yeah, he genuinely wanted to see eye to eye. But he doesn't even understand what they're fighting about. He's just like, why are we fighting? We shouldn't fight each other. And, clearly Lapis has all kinds of knowledge about history between the group he's part of and whatever she represents. But she just expects him to know. So she didn't explain it to him. And I actually really appreciate that from a storytelling perspective. I want to know at this point, but I also appreciate that she thinks he knows. He has to know if he's a crystal gem. He has to know what their history is. So she kind of explains in a, oh my gosh, why aren't you acknowledging this? Your friends only care about the earth. You don't care about other gems. And that's like new information for him. But he's Steven. He doesn't ask follow-up questions. So
another thing laid down for us.
Yeah. I would, if I was Steven at this point, I'd be like, okay, you know what? You said there's a lot you don't understand about gems, Steven. And it's like, well, tell me what I'm supposed to understand and why everybody's acting like I'm ignorant about something really important. It's like, Tell us, Pearl, tell us.
Yeah. Why is caring about the earth a bad thing, for example?
Right. Yeah, that is a good question. And why does caring about the earth have to come at the expense of other gems?
Yeah, and completely blows out my wondering from earlier episodes if these three had actually been deliberately stationed on Earth by Gemkind, and it seems that's pretty much not the case now. They've obviously just sort of running the show themselves to keep Earth safe.
Right. His little line about, he says, no problem, Bob. After she says, thank you, Steven, he says, no problem, Bob. And she doesn't get it. It's Lapis.
And he just kind of goes, okay, just.
And he's wiping his spit on his shirt. Just, okay, that was awkward. That exchange was really cute. I again really love the mixture of humor and seriousness in this episode, because it really, when you think about it in the context of the show, this is definitely one of the very plotty, very important episodes. It was very much action oriented, but it had so many funny little bits that they weren't distractions. They weren't one-off. They kept the moments going with understanding that Steven is who he is, that he's gonna say something like, no problem, Bob, to an alien that just grew water wings. And
yeah.
It's just like, whatever, I can talk to her like that.
And from her point of view, she's just, why is he calling me Bob? Who's Bob? What's a Bob?
I've told him my name. Bob isn't a gem. Bobite. I'm gonna end up looking it up online and finding out there is a Bobite.
People have named things strange things over time.
It's actually Robert-onyx. Just short for that.
How long was the break between season halves when this first went out?
I don't know. I think that it just continued. This show has had some really bizarre types of airing schedules, I guess. I mean,
you've mentioned
there was no break between season 1 and season 2, for instance. But
have to take their word for it. You just kind of have to take their word for it that it's separate seasons.
Yeah. I'm at the time that this was a new episode and airing on television, I was not in the fandom yet. So I don't recall, and I would have to look it up. On a lot of the other ones, I can tell you about the suffering, but
that's what I was wondering about. What people were left with after that dangler of, could this mean something for us?
Yeah. Do you think that the next one will continue from this, or do you think it's just going to go back to Monster of the Week?
I don't know about Monster of the Week, but I'm not sure that it will pick up the what will happen to us thing straight away, because it did sound like something that we're not sure when or if it's going to land. Just that it's serious when and if it does.
A seed planted.
Yeah.
What would you want the next one?
If we were going to continue straight with this story thread, I think it would be time to properly explain some of the things. While it's still out there, leaving some things open is fine, but I think if we're going to go into the depth of this story, it would be trying to explain what relevance Earth has, how it is these three came to be, or anything which gives a bit more context to the Lapis leaves and this could be a thing. But I'm also aware of the show enough now to know it's equally could be that next week that Amethyst finds out about gambling or something.
At this point, she only knows about skee ball and tickets, so it's probably a pretty short trip.
Oh, goodness knows they could open another Onion episode.
What's that?
Goodness knows they could open with another Onion episode next season.
Onion episode. Oh, I wonder if people would have rioted. Well, let's see. Do I want to talk about anything? What else do you want to talk about?
Were there any more probes or tidbits for this one?
I could ask you another probing question. Well, that was kind of one, but that was just, what do you think? If I could, okay, I usually don't do this kind of thing on here, but this is almost like I'm going to ask you for a theory.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay, so, all right, with Lapis, she clearly has animosity toward our gems as a group, but we saw that Pearl did not personally recognize her mirror. She didn't act like she knew that there was a conscious gem. We went over that over the last time. So my question for you, theory wise, do you think this is a personal feud where they have met before, or do you think there's more of a broad ideological split?
Yeah, I think it seems more principled.
So you think that it's that they don't really recognize each other and they don't have any personal history, but it's ideological. Just curious what you thought.
I would say it doesn't seem to be personal. Lapis could know who the other three are, but I don't think she didn't seem to know them personally, or certainly not Pearl at least.
Yeah.
And could it be that other gems besides our three have a kind of gem first ethic, and the idea of hanging about on some other planet full of carbon-based mortals is just wrong, especially if effectively you're fighting other gems, corrupted or otherwise, to protect it. A lot of them could be these are just other worlds. These don't even count as people to us. Try to save us, gems, if you like, but don't put yourself out, or bubble gems to protect humans or anything like that.
I see.
So, and certainly then waiting around on Earth to do just that, and at least partly assimilating into their society, much less breeding with one of them, however that actually happened, would certainly put them on the naughty list as far as these other gems were concerned.
There was no mention of rose quartz in there.
No, at first I thought the healing power thing might be she was about to clock that Stephen was somehow connected to Rose because she recognized that power, but no, it was just the importance of a healing power at all, at least as far as we know.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had such a big plot point and it seemed to not connect to rose quartz, even though a lot of the other big ones really have somehow drawn their importance from Stephen's mother.
Yeah, so, and I guess then that in that case, Rose's love or serve or attitude would be counter to that gem philosophy, if that indeed is gem philosophy, of course, because others would feel, well, yeah, you do what you can for us, for other gems, but not for humans and cats and puppies and horses and stuff.
Yeah, almost like we're bugs or something, and if it were to help gems to just spray anti-human and anti-organic stuff everywhere, then that's what you do to show your loyalty to your kind. But
maybe Earth was like the dumping ground for corrupted gems. That as far as the gem government, for want of a better word, were concerned, this was just this mud ball where every time someone got corrupted, you could just shove them through a warp gate to do their thing. And Rose and her troop went, decided later, well, this is a bit much. There's sapient living beings living there now, and we can't just be monstering them because it's inconvenient for us.
Maybe they wouldn't want the crystal gems to be there and not be corrupted gems. They would just be themselves. Maybe they disagree with that.
And again, certainly not fighting other gems, corrupted or otherwise.
Huh.
I just developed
interesting thoughts there that I can't confirm or talk about.
I just developed gem supremacists.
So, again, we didn't have music. We just had background stuff. We had quite a lot of it, again.
Very much worked with the great battle scene.
Yeah. I thought I should tell you what the title of, there was the rock song that Rose apparently liked. Apparently it has a name.
Ah, of course.
And it has a real strange name. It's called Quadranometry. The secret of the wave lies in creation. And it's all written in capital letters.
Is it supposed to be one of Greg's?
I don't think so.
Because he just said that Rose liked it without saying who did it one way or another.
Yeah, I felt like he was not laying claim to it. It was one of Rose's favorites, but Garnet clearly did not like it.
Even Amethyst didn't like it.
Yeah, she just kind of giggled. Pearl and Amethyst are just laying on all the junk in the back. Amethyst probably felt like she was in bed and Pearl was just in hell.
Yeah, maybe she was just too traumatized from all the junk around her to even hear the music.
She's just like, move out of the way, I'll drive. So there was a instrumental song for their night drive. There was an instrumental song for the mirror fight. It's called Mirror Match.
Sense.
There was a Lapis's Tower one. And there was, I think, another Lapis related song, more of those bells and stuff. I think there was one where they had like an action song for when Stephen was falling that was called Take My Hand, because I remember that there was the scene where they're trying to grab hands.
And she indeed says, take my hand.
Yeah. And then there's one where we probably haven't talked about this that much, but there's an ending theme, which is called Love Like You. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it changes. We haven't really talked about this, and I wonder if the music people will be annoyed that I have been negligent in talking about this. But part of the reason is that we often don't have it on our file.
Yeah, and also when it is there, we tend to fade it out, just keeping the first bit for atmosphere.
Yes. So, but this one did have a slightly different theme to it. Like it had more of it or something like that. It had a different sound to it. They have a different subtitle on it. Love Like You, The Ocean Returns. So back when this was first airing, the ending theme changing slightly, people were noticing it and kind of stitching them all together to hear the whole thing. And over time, more and more of it is revealed, and it's really neat.
I imagine there's some supercut on YouTube or whatever of all the variations.
Yep. Yeah, there's a couple of them that get real weird, and sometimes they'll add a little drums to it, and there's quite a few different kind of versions of it.
Yeah. Evangelion did a similar thing all on its original run, because they've had to remove them from the Netflix versions, were different versions of Fly Me to the Moon. And eventually they actually put out a CD of all the versions of Fly Me to the Moon they'd used on the credits.
All right. Evangelion.
Yeah.
That was a trip.
Yeah. And also, just tying things together, it released a lot of soundtrack CDs.
Yeah, some of the big animes out there do that. I've noticed that, and then they'll have so many remixes kind of the same song.
Well, I know and I certainly don't even have all of them. I know that even with the CDs I own of Evangelion soundtracks, that simply playing them end to end lasts longer than the amount of actual Evangelion footage there is. So that's the earnestness they're going for.
That's amazing. So there is, again, no food to talk about.
No, everyone was too busy saving the ocean to eat.
Yeah, they might have swallowed some seawater. But,
yeah.
But I do have quite a few.
Chomped down a fish or two on the way out.
Oh, that's got to be. You know what? I'm just almost going to have to say that's canon, because she would.
Oh, this does remind me, massive tangent though it is, straight after we saw the episode with the butt lobster, the very next cartoon I watched had another butt lobster.
What? Tell me about the butt lobster.
Well, Transformers Rescue Bots, they just started watching that. There was an episode in which because science. All the lobsters at the lobster festival started flying, and one of them pinched and attached itself to someone's butt, much in the same way as in the Steven Universe episode.
And then someone said, "You have a lobster on your butt."
Yes, so,
I'm assuming that didn't happen.
no, I think they're not allowed to say butt on this show. It's a much younger skewing show.
Yeah. But lobsters are still allowed to pinch butts.
Yeah,
That's fresh.
So there, of all the next cartoons I could have watched, it was, for all I know, the only other one in the world with a butt lobster.
I like to contribute to and read and look at content on Steven Universe Amino. And I have a friend on there who made an entire trivia quiz about the butt lobster. The minimum to publish a quiz is 7 questions, and they managed to find 7 questions about this lobster. My goodness. And I have the high score on it.
Nice.
Of course, I have the high score on most of the quizzes on that app. I have like 4 times the points of the next highest person. So on this app of like hundreds of thousands of people. I might be a nerd.
Might be a nerd, but you're good at it.
Yeah, I joined it because I wanted trivia quizzes. And then it turned out most of the trivia quizzes were very bad because they're just user written, and the age group there is very young. And so there's a lot of stuff on there where most of them are just, if you're lucky, it's just that it's not challenging. It's like, what color is Steven's gem? What is Steven's mom's name? What kind of weapon does Amethyst have? But then more often than not, it's just somebody will get tired halfway through making the quiz, and some of the questions will just be key smashes or, do you like this quiz? Yes or no?
Yeah, there used to be a Facebook app that was TV and movie quiz, which started off good but devolved, much as you say.
Mm-hmm. So, if I find one that's decent but has a mistake, I'll comment on it and tell them, you should fix this. And sometimes they take it well, sometimes they ignore me, sometimes they call me lots of names, and I report them.
Of course they do.
But, I mean, if it's just a terrible one, I don't bother because it's not good and no one's going to play it anyway. But if it's decent and it deserves to be saved, but it has an error, okay, I'm just being a nerd. So I do have quite a few fun factoids about this one, though.
Oh, yes, fire away.
So, like usual, I should tell you what the description is, which says the ocean disappears on the first day of summer and Beach City is in a panic. So that's not too bad.
Yeah. And again, that is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Also does the service of not giving away Lapis.
Yes.
Existence. If you were like just browsing in your app or your magazine or whatever and saw the 2 descriptions next to each other, you wouldn't go, oh, 25 sounds interesting. What's 26? The gem who was revealed last episode.
Oh, yeah. You're right. You have to think of stuff like that when you write these descriptions. Of course, I think half of them are too spoilery anyway, so. But I'll give them credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I mean, I realize you can only do that so far, but when we're talking about the next episode.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. The borders for this one are Jeff Liu and Joe Johnston again. And I think at least for this part of the show, I like their episodes the best, which is weird because actually if I were to rank the episodes, I actually like Mirror Gem more than I like Ocean Gem, even though they're both really good.
I haven't thought of that. I think I'm still seeing them as a kind of whole.
With Jeff and Joe, they've talked a little bit about which parts they did, and they've talked about how, who was it who? Jeff, I think, was the one that invented the idea of the water wings, which is really cool to me. Like, you can trace that to a particular person. He's like, this is just cool. Let's do this. He's fun. He wrote the Cookie Cat song. And Joe Johnston did the big fight. He got to board that. Jeff was the one that came up with the Bob joke and wanted Lapis to shudder like she was disgusted when Steven put his spit on her back. He came up with that. They really wanted it to be like an awkward goodbye. They talked about it. They wanted it to be really awkward. So, but I have an interesting factoid that they talked about in the podcast where they said originally, instead of breaking his leg, Greg was going to lose his leg and have a robot leg.
Ooh.
I'm glad they didn't.
No, that seems a bit much, especially as we're still pretty early on in the game.
Oh, yeah. And they talk about this, like they talked about it really like good-naturedly, that sometimes when they have battles and stuff and they want to include Greg, they're like, let's bring Greg along. And then they often just back up and write him back out because they want Greg to consistently be sort of this pillar of Steven's human life. He's normalcy. He's his human dad. You don't want to bring him along because he'll get hurt. And but sometimes in these scenarios, they'll give him a ray gun. They'll give him like a laser gun.
Well, and in this time, they brought him along and he got hurt. So
yeah.
Which I think kind of works because it shows this one's spread enough beyond the magic world into the mortal world that Greg being involved is a natural next step, as well as sort of backing up his son.
Yeah. And all of the townsfolk know that something is going on and that they're off on a mission. And when they come back successful, he gets this hero's welcome and everything. So it did have more of a human involvement factor than most previous gem battles. So, and they also said that they had really early ideas that they wanted this water tower. And somebody drew it on a Post-it note. I don't remember who, but I wanted to tell you that this is the episode that they flashed forward to in Steven and Stevens. That the water is all gone. It was one of those, the ocean is gone scenes from the background where there used to be an ocean. Now there's no ocean. They used that and teleported forward in time and used these backgrounds. So that's what it was from. So now you know. And I know that we were watching it in real time and not freeze framing everything or anything. But I don't know if you noticed in one of the long shots, they showed kind of the temple with the ocean being gone. It just looked very different. There's a giant sword laying in the sand and it looks really cool. But we've seen this sword before when they were underwater in Bubble Buddies. So this is like the second time this sword has come up. So I saw people, when I looked at discussion boards from afterwards, it's like some people had noticed that the first time and they're like, see, there's a sword there. Giant sword that looks like it's kind of part of the sculpture.
Oh, well, the sculpture's bit's missing. Maybe it dropped off.
Yeah. This ginormous stone sword on the floor of the ocean, very close to the beach. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Nice,
I like that.
Clever remembering that it was there or seeding it in advance or both, depending on how they were working off in the Crooniverse.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the strawberry fields, you can see giant weapons lying around all the time.
Yeah, true.
Do we have anything else to talk about before I show you some merch?
Just a minor thing that I'm guessing that something else involved in either Gem Sphere or whatever it's actually called is right nearby, or there's a portal, or Lapis is going to take a very, very long time to get there. She just is jumping into space and flapping her wings.
Yeah, she seemed to think that there was a possibility she could stretch water to get her there, and quickly found out she wouldn't be able to do it. But flying as an individual person on wings, it's certainly not a supersonic or faster than light spaceship. So it'll even take you a while to get to the moon that way. Yeah,
I mean, it almost worked better for my original thought that we were talking about pocket dimensions and things rather than actual planets.
Yeah, we certainly don't know where she's going. That's true.
If it is, in fact, nearby, cosmically speaking, but sort of tucked away. Or maybe when she's in proper space, she can, like, open a portal or something. I don't know.
Could be.
Brand spanking new, mint in box.
Merch away.
Okay. Well, again, like I did in the joking victim episode, I have to show you two things. Which should make up for my last one having to be underwear. But I do have Lapis merch this time, which I couldn't show you before because she has water wings and eyeballs.
It's a nice plushie.
Yeah, so I have a big plushie, and she's cute on the back too. But yeah, I couldn't bring her out before because it was a spoiler for one more episode that she has eyes.
I suppose that's something from your end that, at least from here on, the very presence of Lapis on merch doesn't render it unshowable.
Yeah, but this was a Comic-Con exclusive.
Oh, nice.
They didn't make that many of them, so they're harder to find now. And this was one of the earlier ones, I think. Yeah, this was one of the earlier ones that they made available. I believe it was 2016, I think. There was starting to be some exclusive merch. So I didn't go to this convention, so I had to get it from an eBay seller. But she's a large size plush, and she has very sparkly wings. They're iridescent.
Yeah, that is lighting up very pretty in the bouncing off the light from your monitor or whatever it is.
She's got her bare feet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they say on the tag how many of her they made, but it was a limited quantity. So I do not recall how many they made. It says on here I have to be 3 years old to play with this.
Oh.
She looks very happy. She looks a lot happier than she did in most of the show. It's a little bit of an awkward plush, though, because it doesn't have real hair, so it's got this sort of potato sack thing going on with the hair.
I've noticed the flappy bits around her face.
Yeah. Oh,
I suppose animated hair often has trouble rendering into real form, into actual products.
Yeah. And there's not that much merchandise of her, but there is a little bit. It's just they always put the wings on, so
yeah.
Couldn't find one to show you that didn't have that. And the mirror eyeballs are gone. She has regular eyeballs. So, but I couldn't not show you this other thing, which I think I have to pick up my camera to do this, but I will preface this to say that it is partial collection of something, which I'll have to show you the entire collection at some point. But for this, I have something it's by Funko called Pint-Sized Heroes. And for some reason, let me see if I can get this to work. They made, I can't do this. They made, here we go. It's not focusing, but here we go. They made little water clones.
Oh, those are cute.
I can move them closer. But this is Pearl. And you can see through her. She's clear plastic, kind of blue. And they made these things. Let's see. Can I do this better? Okay, there she goes. So, got Pearl. And they made Garnet. She's just like herself.
Yeah. Oh, I like that one. I really like that one.
Tiny body, giant head. And you can just see through them. They're really cool. And then the Amethyst one, here she is. Whee. Whoops. I just made a really loud noise. Sorry. There's Amethyst. There she goes. You can see even her face.
Yeah, and she's even got her fringe thing going. That's
Yes. Yeah, she's pretty cute. And then we have a Steven one, and he looks very angry.
Well, he doesn't want to fight. That's why.
Yeah. Well, the water clone one did.
Yeah.
But perplexingly, they made one of rose quartz.
Oh.
And I think maybe they just didn't know what they were doing. But she was like the special one that you could get. I can't get this centered. They made a rose quartz one. And she was never a water clone, so I don't know why they did that. Yeah. But they just did. Her hair is really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought the fifth was going to be Lapis herself because she more or less made a water one of herself. Certainly more than she did of Rose.
Yeah. I think probably they just thought they would make something cool.
Yeah, but it is pretty cool in itself.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But yeah, a lot of people were perplexed. Like, what are these? Are they holograms or are they? And I'm like, no, they're probably supposed to be the water clones, right? And then, a lot of times they are described as water clones. But then they make a rose one for no reason. I think it was probably just they had the mold and they just made a few clear ones. But
gotta make them in sets of 5. There we go.
Yeah. There are quite a lot of these. This is probably the what did I call them? Pint-Sized Heroes probably has the most different characters with, of course, different recolors of the same thing, But I would rather show you the rest when I can show you everything. So there are still quite a few that I can't show you the whole collection. So I think I'll wait to do that. But I felt like I should show you the water ones when we watch the episode.
Yep, they're cool.
They're really cute, too. They have the giant heads, kind of like the Funko Pops, but I think they're cuter than Funko Pops. Same company. So
and Funko does like to make variants of the characters.
Yeah, they do. There's got to be like 6 or 7 different Stevens.
Well, over on Doctor Who, there were 2 versions of the 13th Doctor as soon as she debuted. Or in fact, before she debuted, technically.
Oh, wow. Are they cute or are they awkward?
No, they're cute. Unfortunately, she's down in my car, so I can't show you my one of the Doctor.
Oh. I guess even though I don't watch it, this is unofficially sort of occasionally a Doctor Who podcast. So. And Transformers. I miss when there was music to talk about. So
there's nothing for you to cover and sing and stuff.
No, there isn't. But I guess we got a bunch of them in Steven and the Stevens not too long ago. So.
Yeah, that was an episode actually about music. So we're not being completely deprived.
Yeah, but that was episode 22, and this is 26. I'm jonesing for it now. So I need that, and I need my food back.
Well, I'm sure they haven't given up singing and eating. I'm sure that's a safe prediction.
You are 100% correct. We should be able to get some more of both of those things next time we watch.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, is that a spoiler? There's food and singing?
Oh, no, food and singing in the Steven Universe episode. So surprised.
I can't stand it. Well, what else should we say? Anything before we wrap this one?
I think we've covered most of it. We got interrupted by Zoom for a bit there, so we covered a lot before that.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
apart from the story itself, the other biggest takeaway was, of course, the news of the corruption, which is, I don't know how much of an effect it's going to have directly going forward, but certainly on how we look at things going forward or even looking back.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we know every time they fight or fought one of these creatures, as they knew it was or had been or possibly even could be another person.
Mm-hmm. So centipedal and the worm monster and the ice monster.
And the pufferfish.
The pufferfish. Wow.
The big watermelon pufferfish.
Yep. That's a lot of gems.
Yeah. And we saw that that chamber is littered with bubbles, so
yeah. Sure
they've
is.
been at this a while and potentially have like a village worth of gems in there if they could ever work out how to uncorrupt them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I like that, even though they don't sit down and say like this is our mission or anything, even though Steven promised one of them that he would help heal Centipedal up, it at least feels like there's something that they've been doing that they care about besides just fighting stuff and capturing it.
I wonder if this ties back into my gem government as supremacist jerks theory. But I wonder if the corrupted gems might be seen as kind of like dirty, as there's a stigma attached to them. So that'd be another reason to not be fond of our three's mission or our four's mission, because you don't go and mix and try to save and tend to these corruptions because they're corrupt and they're no longer nice like us and they're unclean.
You know, I mean, Pearl seemed to have that attitude towards Centipedal at least some of the time, like that awful thing she called her. So it's definitely possible for them to see them that way, even though they know, Pearl knows what they used to be, but she still called Centipedal that awful thing.
Yeah, so maybe she hasn't quite escaped her roots in that regard.
That's a good theory.
Because notably, even though, as we said, there could be many causes, we don't know quite what corrupts a gem yet.
That's right. It has definitely not been said what that is. And it seems like that would be a good follow-up question for Steven, and he has not asked it.
No, Steven. Don't you know people are watching you? People need to know these things at home.
Yeah.
People are probably watching you with editing the Steven Universe wiki and slamming the lid shut in frustration when you don't ask stuff.
Yeah. You'd think he would learn. But I think that sometimes when he does ask a relevant question, we're just so proud of him. Finally, Steven asked a reasonable question.
Yeah. Well, he's not very big picture focused at the moment. So when he does ask follow-up questions, it's usually about the immediate situation.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So most of what we wanted him to ask this week probably wouldn't have affected much the actual matter at hand. So he just doesn't do it.
The nature of the Steven. Well,
hello.
Me and my Lapis are probably ready to fly away until next time.
Yeah, join us next time when we dive into season 1.2, 1B.
Season 1B is a common term for it. We could call it that.
There we go, season 1B.
Congratulations on making it to halfway through the first season.
Yay, we got a milestone. And
yeah, and it was a whammy.
Yeah, And obviously the show won me over pretty quick because I'm looking forward to diving into season 1B, and I didn't sort of episode 3 go, look, this thing about the rock ladies, look, I just can't,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're at the point now where people have been saying like, wow, it starts to get good right there. And of course I disagree, but it is, I will definitely say that even from the perspective where I am watching past season 5 and all that stuff, some of my favorite episodes are in season 1B. So we've got some excellent stuff coming.
Yeah, and I've thought it was all good so far because I didn't know it was going to turn this corner or indeed any corner at all. So that it could still be based around Monster of the Weeky things from here on out, for all I knew, up until seeing these episodes. And I wouldn't have thought that was a bad thing. Even beyond that, there has still been developing plots and stories and things. So while it's obviously big news how corrupted gems work, if it turned out that the writers didn't go with that and they just decided, no, the gem creatures are just creatures, there'd still be plenty more to be going on with.
Mm-hmm. There's a factoid I actually didn't mention to you, which is that when they originally got their order of 26 episodes, they were prepared that this could be the last one, and they wrote it as a possible show finale, that the big takeaway was gems are not from Earth, and this is a big deal, and dun, dun, dun. And, when they found out that they were going to get more episodes, they were able to make Garnet's last statement about we're going to wait and see to be a little bit more vague and open-ended. But they could have, if they hadn't gotten orders for more, this could have been it.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have thought about most of this as an ending, but then I've always known the series goes on past this point anyway. I mean, even before I was watching, I knew the show had several seasons. So I would never have conceived of it ending here.
Right. So you're not thinking, oh, I'm actually concerned that Stephen might die in this episode. No, the only one where he dies is episode 22. Like 40 times. I guess that's the thing about having a main character. You assume he's going to continue to be in the show, so he's usually not in mortal danger that we know.
But I mean, that doesn't seal it on anyone else.
That's true.
So
100%.
We don't know if Garnet falls down the stairs next week, or that's right. I remember now. I had half-formed thoughts about Garnet theories last week, but they didn't bubble up through my sleep-deprived brain.
Last week?
Well, last week combined with some stuff from previous weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Not last episode. Last session for us. A few episodes back for the listeners.
Okay.
Should I voice them?
I don't know. Do you want to? I don't see a reason not to. I'm always curious about thoughts on Garnet. I love Garnet.
Well, after revisiting Amethyst and her cracked gem and her relationship to her body compared to the others, that she is far more her body rather than her gem, that everyone else sort of is their gem. And of course, I kind of fuzzed out, or not quite gone down the path, that Garnet has 2 gems. And if she has 2 gems, what if she is 2 gems and is like some kind of stable fusion?
Mm-hmm.
And contributing to this, which leaked in from earlier, was that the fusion she was a part of was the one that stayed together far longer and was far more difficult to separate.
Oh, Sugilite?
Yeah. Compared to
was concerned.
Compared to Opal dropping apart.
Who falls apart,
notice. Yeah. So if there's such a thing as, I don't know, a naturally occurring or more stable fusion, and Garnet is one, and she brings that to the party of anything she fuses with, that would make sense as to why Sugilite, or if she had made that fusion with Pearl, could be more stable because that's one of her contributors.
It's kind of a 2-tier theory there.
Yeah. So,
if this is true, then maybe this is true.
Yeah, I mean, for I know, it could be something mundane, like some gems are just naturally physically split for whatever reason. also taller than the others, but not giant. So that could go either way.
Like in the episode Giant Woman, is she a giant woman or is she a giant woman or a regular sized giant? Yeah,
Garnet is very tall, but not outside human range tall.
Right. She just ducks through a couple of doorways.
Yeah,
so, I mean, at this point in the show, I think a lot of the stuff that we can't figure out with the current information is just because we don't know how anything works.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, for all that chat, we've only seen the two fusions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot we're sort of taking as read from the surrounding statements, like Garnet telling Stephen one day he should be able to fuse too, which has never really been revisited.
No, it hasn't. It's like, Stephen, follow-up questions. Come on. Yeah. And she doesn't take it upon herself, Garnet. She doesn't take it upon herself to explain, when Pearl gets destroyed and has to regenerate. She doesn't explain how it works for her or for Amethyst. She just says that this happens and this is what we do. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't ask, like, well, what about you? How might you be different? How might Amethyst be different from the way, would Amethyst take that long? How would Garnet's situation be? So,
yeah, and it makes sense as we're learning these things with Stephen, and he's only almost literally at the start of the series became of an age where he's getting involved in things.
Mm-hmm.
So there could well have been times where the gems had short-term injuries and had to retreat into their gems, but just he didn't know or comprehend, or it wasn't long enough for him to notice.
Right.
Because they did say sometimes it's shorter than others.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, granted, this one was a teeny bit crowbarred in the circumstances, but there has been no call for anyone to fuse up until this. And if they were fusing in battle and he wasn't there, he simply wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem that it seems occasionally they could be a bit more forward of sharing information too.
Right. Like, hey, Stephen is part of the team. So if you're going to have him try to contribute to, even if he's not like a strategist necessarily, like he talked Lapis down pretty good. So if you give him more information about how things work and who you are and what your past is, I mean, unless they're trying to protect him from it, unless they worried that if they came clean to him about various things that they've done or been part of, that he wouldn't love them or something. So who knows? But a lot of it feels like the trying to protect the kids kind of thing, where they don't tell him stuff, but some of it's dangerous for him not to know that and still go on life-threatening fights with them.
As Pearl pointed out last time, this is his mother's culture, and you think, if I was that age and my mother had passed away, but I was like living with my 3 Australian aunties, that by this age I'd know what Vegemite was.
Yeah. Or whether they eat it all.
Yeah, well, bet you Amethyst loves that stuff.
In the can.
Yeah.
Just like can and all.
I used to like it, but I don't now. But I've
had it.
You've had it?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Didn't like it. Very salty.
I can understand that. I think my palate changed as I grew older, but it is as common here as you might think. It's one of those bordering on stereotypes is actually true thing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, I had a friend who lived with my mom for a long time, and she did some of her education in Australia, and she ended up meeting someone and marrying a man from Australia. So both of them lived with my mom for quite a while, and they moved out and then they moved back in again. So he had Vegemite there, and that's where I tried it. And my mom was like, you got to try this horrible stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's horrible stuff.
Yeah, I remember when one of my Australian friends moved to America, we were regularly assembling care packages with various Australian food you can't get easily over there.
I have a friend who did some work in Japan, and she said that she didn't know this before she went there, but that it was hard to get peanut butter in Japan.
Oh.
So I sent her peanut butter cereal.
I didn't know that either.
I guess you just notice it if you really love peanut butter.
I have to ask my Japanese auntie if that's a thing for any reason, or if people just don't like peanut butter much.
Yeah. Well, when I went there, it was like it seemed like, number one, they didn't really know how to do cheese. I didn't like anything I had that had cheese on it. It didn't taste like cheese to me. And two, their stuff that's supposed to be sweet isn't as sweet as it is in America.
Yeah, there's a particular kind of taste that they seem much more content to put in things than in Australia, and I imagine then in America too, a kind of umami taste.
Oh, okay.
I noticed when I was there, it could be because, might have just been because I was unwell at the time, but I noticed even a staple like Coca-Cola tasted different when I was over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In Disney World, we have at Epcot Center, they have a Coca-Cola related attraction where you can go get a little sample cup and you can try different types of Coca-Cola or Coke, whatever it is, and that the way that it is in different countries. And that's really cool. And so you try their Coke product, how it's flavored and how it tastes in Mexico or Italy or whatever. And people love to drink the Italian one and make faces because apparently most people don't like it, but I like it.
I know the cherry Cokes are different between here and America because it used to get specially imported by little stores, and I tried that one and I really liked it. Then it came as a locally made product and it was very different to someone who becomes so fond of the import. I imagine there might be manufacturing rules, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Or just local tastes. I don't know.
We both explored the American love for putting more sugar in things.
And mayonnaise on everything. I am not quite sure how we got from fusion theories to condiments, but we're talented.
yeah. Write and tell us which Australian and American foods you've tried if you're not from either country.
That's a good idea. Some prompts for some interaction.
So, comment on Facebook or the YouTube. And
yay! That would be great.
If I was clever, I'd set up an email address. But
well, there is one associated with the YouTube that I had to start, which I think is just Not So Giant Women at Gmail. So,
there you go. Of course, there would be.
But I'm not positive if that's correct. I just think it is. So, but you have to start one to start a YouTube. So I did. But what was I going to say about that? Oh yeah, we talked about food a lot because we didn't get any this time.
Yeah,
we had to talk about food. It's a rule.
We were deprived.
Didn't get to show any pictures of food or anything, so we'll just talk about Vegemite and mayonnaise.
Oh, don't put them together. No.
Yes, let's
not.
not.
Ivy, no.
Believe me, I would not.
I'm sure someone out there is thinking, I'm going to try that and show them, but that's your responsibility if you're at home.
Please be responsible with your health.
We claim no responsibility for massacred taste buds.
Yeah. Well, you need those if you're going to try my recipe for next episode. Should I say what the title is?
Yes, what is the title we're going to dive into next time?
Okay, the next episode 27, is House Guest.
House Guest, oh.
I'm sure I'll try to make you guess who it is when we start the next one. Okay. But I'm ready to wrap for now.
As am I, so good whatever, gentle listeners and viewers. Hope you've enjoyed our wander through this mid-season finale and me having my world rocked.
Pun intended. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You've been listening to Ivy and Daria on Not So Giant Women.
You can find episodes of the show in video form by looking up Not So Giant Women on YouTube.
Or in audio form at anchor.fm/Not So Giant Women or your podcatcher of choice. You can also find us on Facebook.
Audio production by Daria.
Video production and music by Ivy.
Daria can also be heard on Podsploitation, the Ozploitation podcast.
And Ivy at her Steven Universe fan blog at love-takes-work.tumblr.com.
Steven Universe was created by Rebecca Sugar and remains property of Cartoon Network.
No infringement is intended.